Okay, welcome in. I do apologize ahead of time. This video, I've tried to move this tablet around so many times, and it just seems to be blurry, very much so, whether I click on the right side or the left side. I'm just trying to do a quick little recap from yesterday's trade between the Anaheim Ducks and the New York Rangers. So the big thing was, where was it? The Anaheim Ducks, they would trade away Urho Vaakanainen and I believe a 2025 fourth round draft pick, I apologize, to the New York Rangers in exchange for Jacob Trouba. So all I was going to do is just make the trade happen on NHL 25, which I have loaded up on the screen. But again, I do apologize deeply about the quality of the video. So I'll make this trade happen and take a look at both of the team's contracts and discuss my thoughts on the actual trade. So I'm just going to quickly go into the rosters and edit player, and it should show the contracts for both players respectively. So I'll scroll down. So Jacob Trouba is now officially a member of the Anaheim Ducks. The one thing that kind of bothered me about this was for the first time, we had captains for every single team this year. And of course, now the Rangers trade away Trouba. So will they end up going with a new captain? Or will they go throughout the rest of the season as alternates, and they'll possibly discuss a captaincy in the off season. So heading into this year, he had 2 years left to go on his contract at $8 million respectively. So he had one more year left to go on this deal. So technically, he didn't have to get traded, but there was a lot of speculation, rumors, whatever you want to call it, and it ended up going public. And because we're living in 2024 and not the 1980s or 90s, where one thing might get leaked out onto the internet, or maybe people still read newspapers. I don't know, whatever the case may be was, but there was speculation about how the Rangers wanted to do something with Trouba. It even got to the point where they wanted to put him on waivers and then work out a trade that way. So clearly there was something going on between management and Trouba, and they decided that it was best for them to move on from their captain. Now the crazy thing was Anaheim's actually taken on the full $8 million. Normally, when a trade happens, a team might split that in half, and then they'll kind of figure it out from there. So it's very scarce that you see a team take on someone else's full contract, especially when it's $8 million. And he's definitely not playing up to that money making potential. But because they signed that 5 years ago, it's unfortunately that as you get older, you do regress. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, so the contract just didn't look that good at the time. Now for Anaheim, they're getting a veteran defenseman. Yes, you could say they have a couple of veteran defensemen and Fowler and Gudis as well, respectively. But it can't hurt to have a little bit of veteran leadership on this team. And a guy who was a captain can definitely bring in some of that leadership quality roles for the Ducks. As I think he said in his little press conference yesterday when he was just doing a video chat that when he first went from Winnipeg to New York, the Rangers had such a young team, and they brought in a guy like him who had played a few years prior, and then he obviously helped build around that team, whatever the case you may want to be as competitive as they are. Now this year, the Rangers aren't faring out as quite as well as a lot of people had hoped. If this was the last year of his contract, it would make more sense, because if the Rangers didn't happen to make the playoffs and he wasn't dealt before the trade deadline, then he could have possibly left due to free agency. So they wanted to make sure they got something back, and they did. And I will discuss the other defenseman here in just a quick second. But I think it's a win-win for both these teams. The Ducks, they're in a rebuild, but you add a couple of veterans on the team that can help the younger guys out, whether it's leadership or whatever the case may be, any other qualities that they possess that they feel that they can bring to the table. So I have no problem bringing Trouba in to the Ducks organization. I just think that the Ducks, they're also like, I don't think they're in a playoff mode now, but maybe in a couple of years they'll be competitive. There's just a lot of really good teams in that Pacific Division, and yes, they're still in it, I guess, if you want to look at a wild card perspective. But I think as the season goes on, you're going to start seeing some teams pull away and some teams start to drop down. And I just don't see the Ducks in the mix of the postseason action. So there's a very good chance, whether he stayed in New York or went to Anaheim, that there was a chance he might not see any postseason action. I could easily bite my tongue, and the Ducks could easily go on a crazy run. Any team could go on a run. There's still plenty of hockey to be left, and they could squeak into a wild card position if they tried. But if I had to make a bold prediction in December, I think it's definitely going to be another year of no playoff hockey for the Ducks. But again, adding a guy like this on definitely helps. I want to just quickly talk about this for a quick second, then I will get on to the Rangers side of things. Normally, when teams do a trade, I did talk about this just briefly, how they'll normally split the money. Sometimes they'll even involve a third team if they didn't feel like it was fair or they didn't have the money, whatever the case may be was. So it's more common to add another team into a trade rather than for the other team to take on a full contract. So I thought that was a little strange, but again, if you're a Rangers management, I'm sure you would love the fact that, oh, we'll have $8 million more at the start of next season. Yeah, I'll sign on that dotted line. Okay, so for the other team, Trouba's former team, I should say, the New York Rangers, they did acquire the defenseman, and I'm just going to scroll down till I can see an Anaheim Duck jersey at some point here. There we go. Urho Vaakanainen. He was on a very cheap contract. He's also in the last year of his deal too, only 25 years old, 26 potentially. So he still has a lot of time to grow, I guess you could say. And maybe putting him in a big spot like New York, that could help him shine. And if they could get this kid re-signed during the season or during the off season, that would pay out huge. And this way they're guaranteed to have him for a potentially long term. And then they also have that draft pick, which would be next year's fourth round pick. And so I think it's a win-win for both these teams. They get a defensive defenseman. Not saying he has to replace Trouba, not that he can, because it's physically impossible to replace somebody else. But maybe he can help out on that back end. Maybe penalty kill will be a strong kill for Vaakanainen. Who knows what this kid's ceiling is, unless he's already peaked, and this is where he's at. But still, a 25-year-old defenseman on a $1 million contract over a 31-year-old defenseman on an 8-year contract. An $8 million contract, I should correct myself. I would probably take a deal all day, again, just so you can avoid all the craziness in the dressing room. Okay, that's going to take care of the trade recap between the New York Rangers and the Anaheim Ducks. Again, I feel like it's a win for both these teams, and it's just unfortunate of how things got escalated. Again, like I said, because people posting stuff and whatever the case may be was, Trouba did make it very clear he wanted this to be as quiet as possible. But unfortunately, again, because we're living in the time that we're living in, that stuff gets leaked out just like that, and then it's almost impossible to come back from. So it's an unfortunate ending for his tenure as a New York Ranger. And again, good luck to him in Anaheim, and good luck to Vaakanainen in the Big Apple. Okay, that's going to take care of this video. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.